close to glass you get with children.
Good morning, everybody. It's another Friday, and it's about 8:15 in the morning, which means it's another episode of the Business Unscripted podcast. Hope you guys are having an awesome week. Dwarren, welcome. And as always, if you're a business owner or you're an aspiring business owner, and maybe you are looking for a spot to learn a little bit of tips, tricks, what do you need to do in this crazy world of business, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do here on this episode. We don't. And if you're watching a recording, you probably know a lot more about what we're going to talk about in this episode than we do right now. But you're in the right spot, and we hope you enjoy the show. But listen, today we're going to be talking with Eileen, and Eileen is a specialist, among other things. But today we're talking about LinkedIn visibility and awareness. So we're going to bring Eileen on here shortly. But let's go ahead, grab your cup of Joe, and let's jump into the show. So, Dwarren, sir, how are things going, my friend?
Busy week, exhausting week. I'm glad it's Friday. Says the guy who's actually not taking the weekend off anyway. But
do you ever take the weekend off?
Occasionally, very rarely. Typically, It's portions of the weekend off. I think
that's how it's like when you're a business, for sure.
Being a business owner, right?
Yes.
So. Yes, and so look, it's all fun, it's all good. Happy times ahead. Been a great week. We're kicking some good goals here, so can't complain at all.
Well, speaking of goals, for myself, I actually realized that last week I signed a new client. I think, actually you weren't here last week. Sorry, and I realized on Saturday, sitting at lunch with my fiance, that I actually reached one of the first goals I ever kind of set for myself in business, in terms of a revenue goal per month, like a recurring revenue goal. And I was like, wow, I didn't even even when I closed the deal, I didn't think about it until we were kind of talking about it. And I was like, man, it only took 2.5 years, but here I am, and it's one of those things where it's like, you just got to keep trucking and it'll happen. And then set the next goal, and when you start off from scratch, when you set a goal like that, it seems out of reach, and that's what I love about goals is when you set yourself, ambitious goals, it requires you to think differently, push you outside of your comfort zone. And so now we're on to the next one. Now the next monthly goal is to have about $25,000 to $30,000 a month in recurring revenue. So it'll require a little bit different actions, but we're good.
You know what? I love that. I think that is brilliant. And it's kind of interesting because you just made me realize that I actually hit one of my goals I'd hit earlier at one of my milestones as well this afternoon when we made a new hire for a client, found them the perfect VA. So that meant we just hit one of our financial goals. So
and I think sometimes you just gotta, you're in it, right? We're in the weeds so much that we forget to kind of take that step back. And
you got to celebrate the small wins, man. You got to celebrate you got to remember those goals. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't do the whole whiteboard thing. Probably should, but I don't.
Right.
I like putting pretty pictures on my wall instead. No, I don't have enough wall space to do that. But for me, it's this. Yeah, it's all in my head. It's written down. It's documented at the time, and then I just forget to go back and look at it sometimes. So someone says something, it sparks a memory, and I go, "Oh yeah," and so like you just did then. So happy days, man. I think that's great news for both of us there. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Same to you, man. We're hitting goals. We're moving forward. But
that's it.
With that, we want to get into, I think, a good topic today. So today, we're joined by special guest Eileen Snover, who is the founder of Pathfire Marketing Magic. And she is a CPD certified AI consultant, along with a LinkedIn advisor for business owners who want to improve their awareness. And so Eileen helps experienced professionals, whether you're a coach, consultant, speaker, or you're a service-based expert, help turn your quiet credibility into visible online authority. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk with Eileen today about how do you increase your LinkedIn awareness and your visibility, and what it really takes to build a personal brand that attracts those high value clients. So Eileen, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you, and we cannot wait to hear and talk about LinkedIn, which I think everybody is sometimes overwhelmed with LinkedIn. But welcome.
Thank you so much. I had my microphone muted during your intro there, but I was nodding my head to many of the points that you guys were both making. So I'm happy to be here with you and provide the female balance to your voices.
I love it.
I could see sometimes that's needed. I definitely know. So Eileen, tell us a little bit about like your background. I know you have a background in education, but how did that background in education kind of lead you to where you are now with your journey?
Yeah, I am. I am a veteran of 20 years of education in full time. And my area of expertise in that role was working with people who were learning English as a second language. And as a result, I have had the privilege of working with people as young as 4 and all the way through adult ages, which you don't ask anymore. And because the strategies and the techniques that you use really transcend age. And I loved being part of that journey, of that transformation. For me, it was all about identifying where you are today, where do you want to go in the time that we have together, and then trying to really be intentional about identifying the obstacles and the barriers that were in the way, and trying as best as I could to help that student, that learner, reduce or remove them altogether. And for me, it's a similar transformation when I'm working with a business owner. They know what they want to achieve, they just don't know how to get there. And all they see is obstacles and barriers. And if I can be so bold, I think one of my superpowers, if I'm allowed to claim a superpower, is being able to take complex ideas and even approaches like thinking about LinkedIn and breaking it down and simplifying it so that it's achievable for anyone, even if you don't like technology, even if you hate anything to do with social media. We can. It's all about taking those small steps, like you guys were saying with your goals. Small steps consistently lead to big outcomes, and you can't always see the outcome. You have to hope that it's over the horizon, because showing up every day and doing those repetitions without any evidence that it's going to do you any good, it's hard. It can be discouraging.
Absolutely.
But I think you said, I mean, we've said it, I think on prior episodes, right, Dwarn, that, it's not about giant leaps forward. It's truly about, how can you take those small, consistent steps day after day in order to get you to your goal? Because, I've said this even in progress, like personally, like it's not even in your business, like just, maybe you're a negative mindset individual and you want to, become more positive, right? It's just those small, repetitious, kind of positive affirmations you give yourself day after day. And then you turn around in 6-12 months and you're like, wow, I made a lot of progress. And it doesn't maybe feel that way right away. But when you turn around after, 3, 6, 12 months, you're like, man, so much further ahead than I was before. So,
well, and as a teacher, I loved bringing in technology to help smooth that road, because even if you don't understand, I don't know, the word photosynthesis, I can show you an image, I can show you a short video clip. I don't need to speak your primary language. You can't believe the number of people who've asked me how many languages I speak. My answer is this many. Unless sarcasm counts, which I don't use with children anyway.
Yeah, it wouldn't stick with children, would it? Yeah.
No, it just goes anyway.
Right.
So, I was, I saw the writing on the wall. I was a always been non-traditional. We can go into that later if you'd like, but I knew I didn't have like this huge time available to like reinvent myself.
Right.
So I could see that I wasn't going to want to stay the course in one particular school district and earn the golden parachute pension and all that stuff. So I started to ask myself, well, what else can I do? I have now a master's degree in teaching English as a second language, but I don't want to be an educator anymore, even though I loved it. So what do I do?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you go from having a master's degree in English to one, helping people with LinkedIn and visibility, and then obviously two, AI, but that'll be another conversation for another episode. We're definitely, kind of have on that one. But how do you go from masters of English into, helping people improve awareness and visibility on their LinkedIn profiles?
Because I did it for me. I mean, this is, many, if not 10 years, but several years ago. And I was looking around at what my options were to learn about other career paths. And I didn't want to just sign up for another, diploma. Got those. Don't need another one.
Yeah.
I didn't want to invest my time or money into a sorry to any gurus that are listening, fly by night certifications. And I am very good at reading information and learning things, and then figuring out how to apply it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived as a teacher. But I went to LinkedIn and I started treating it like my personal learning lab. Even what kinds of job titles are people actually doing? What does that job actually entail? And is it something that fits with how I want to work in my area of giftedness? Because I have a lot to offer, but it's not always seen when I share my resume, because the first thing they see is that education.
Right.
Master's.
So when you started the process, what was your follower count? I mean, approximately, where were you at?
A big fat donut.
Oh, so you were literally starting your LinkedIn profile from nothing.
From zero. I had a profile under my name, but there was no headshot, no banner, no information whatsoever. Because think about it this way.
Right.
Most teachers until now, are very geographically bound. Okay, they teach within a certain mile radius of where they live. So, and they're very siloed. It's a very siloed space. Previously, they're getting much more visible on LinkedIn, but literally zero, nothing was there.
Right.
And so what happened was, as I was doing all this learning, I came across someone that was offering a free LinkedIn content challenge, and I'm like, let's do it. And it was super scary. It was like a 6-week thing, intro week and then a wrap up week in between. But the core of the challenge was to show up and post every day for 30 days. Now, remember, I was at zero, never published a thing on LinkedIn.
Right.
So talk about imposter syndrome. Yes, I might know how to write. Yes, I might enjoy writing. Sorry to those of you who don't. But that doesn't mean that I automatically thought that I had anything of value to offer.
We've all been there.
And the imposter syndrome, it's real, and it's the aspect of, are people going to believe what I say, right? Especially if you
care.
Or care what I say.
Who's going to see it? I mean, I've got 0 followers. Who's going to see this?
Exactly.
How am I going to feel when no one interacts with what I post, right? These are the thoughts we get at that point in time.
And I like to follow. Do you follow? I mean, obviously, Gary Vee is a big one that I like to follow, especially when it comes to social media. And his mantra, right, is just post. It doesn't matter. Especially nowadays, your follower count doesn't matter. And so if the content resonates, the algorithm is going to find the viewers, and so it's going to kind of drive you.
Well, not only that, but the energy that you put out through your posting is going to draw the right people, because you're not here to serve everyone.
Right.
You're here to serve a specific section of everyone.
That's a really important point you make there, because how many of us try and think about pleasing everybody with everything we put out on social media initially. And then at some point we have this realization going, no, this isn't for everybody.
Oh my
This
goodness,
is
Lauren, the number of
for my-
times that I've heard the answer to, well, who is your ideal client? Well, my product, my service, my whatever, I can help anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
who
would
buys your
be-
product? Well,
and so you obviously you started from zero, right, Eileen? And so
Mhm.
where are you now in terms of right your followers?
Woo!
And your
Well,
connections?
he didn't leave us swimming in that pool alone. He did give us prompts and things to think about. And then the thing that energized me about that whole experience was midweek he would have a Zoom. We'd show up, he'd teach for 10 or 15 minutes on a particular topic, and then he'd push us out to breakout rooms, and it was like this workshop lab kind of environment where you could talk about your prompt that week, what was going well, what you were struggling with. You could get feedback. It was just, and even more amazing than that was literally people were zooming in, dropping into this live session from literally all over the world, doing all kinds of amazing things. So, I mean, that right there was like an energizing boost. It was like getting nitrous to your engine for me.
Right.
so suddenly you had all these new connections you were connecting with, people liking and sharing each other's content.
Exactly.
Good. I like
Exactly.
it. Okay.
So I followed it for, I crushed the 30-day goal, and then I continued to post because I could see it was resonating. It was small, but it was sustainable growth. And so within 90 days, I went from 0 to over 3,200 followers. And this is before automations, before all these tools that we have access to. And there's pros and cons with those, but that's a different issue. But, so I know the bottom line is, no matter how you feel about LinkedIn or frankly any other social media platform, consistency matters.
Yeah.
Consistency matters. You have to show up. And
Well,
you have
especially
to
on LinkedIn, because it was recently where, and the percentage may be a little bit different now, but if you're just posting like one time a week, you're in like the top 5% of LinkedIn profiles.
Yep. It's still true.
Posting. Yeah.
It's
and
still
so
true.
if you're posting every day, it's even better.
Right. And the bar doesn't have to be that high. I mean, if you've never posted on LinkedIn before, challenge yourself to do it even just once a week. And then, in 6 or 8 weeks, do it 2 times a week. I'm not here telling everybody they have to post 5 times a week. That's a pretty big bar unless you're churning out content and have a structure behind you to kind of repurpose all that, which is also another topic.
Right, no, for sure. And I think the biggest tip that we can give anybody, if you're starting to post and you're starting to think of, what do you want to post about, use the golden ratio, which is about 3 to 4 to 1 posts. And what that means is you want to have 3 to 4 educational, informational, right, value-driven posts to every one sort of CTA post.
Absolutely.
And so you don't want every post on your profile to be about, hey, do business with me. Here's why. Like, here's my benefits, right? You want to be giving value. And we're in an information age where anybody can get a strategy, a tip, anything for free, right? And so that's not what you're trying to sell. You don't have the next best strategy, right? You want people, and what happens is people are going to invest in you as the individual to be their partner to help them reach that goal with that strategy and implement
or solve that pain point or overcome that problem. Absolutely. And the thing is, when you do that and you're sharing authentically, people get to see the real you. And yes, I still use AI to help me, but then it goes through my eyes and my personality and my stories and how I want to show up, in that space, because people know, we've become very leery and cynical and uber critical. I mean, all the LinkedIn posts about the M dashes, I'm like, please don't throw away M dashes. They're so good when used appropriately, not generated by ChatGPT, because it's not even a proper M dash.
For people who are not aware of what that is, help them understand. What do you mean by M dashing and getting rid of that? What is that? What are you referring to?
Well, it's just basically takes the place of a comma in writing, but it has a little bit more emphasis when you're reading it or speaking it. So it's like a comma and a pause combined, sort of. But when it's generated by AI, it doesn't put a space before the dash, and then it's an extra long dash. I don't know why, and then it's touching the next letter. So if you see those are absolutely copy and pasted from AI, and I get people feeling like burnt out by that. But the reality is, hey, I'm just going to give you credit for trying. You showed up,
Right.
you know. And
Read
as an
between the
English
lines,
teacher,
right? I mean,
and as an English teacher, I
sometimes-
love my M dashes.
Well, and this is a one like a step. You're listening, right? And you're seeing a lot of dashes that AI creates, right? So what you can do is then prompt. The next step would be, I want you to, reduce the number, or in your initial prompt, how would a typical individual type this, right? And so it's the prompting and all of that that goes into the AI.
And you can tell
result.
your AI, don't use M dashes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just don't use them.
Or use them only when we want to make an emphasis on a point, right? Not in every time that there should be a comma, use it, because I feel like that's what it does.
That is what it's doing right now, and that goes to the back end customization settings that we can talk about on another episode.
I absolutely, we got a lot to talk about. So I know in our conversations kind of leading up to this, we talk about visibility, right? In your eyes is a system, right? It's not necessarily like what happens. It's actually a system that you implement in your business and in your process. Explain to the listeners, the viewers, like, what do you mean by that aspect? And then I got to step away for 1 second, but I'll be right back.
No problem. Well, because visibility is not about vanity. It's not a vanity metric. It's really about building credibility in that space. Being quiet or being absent altogether is also a huge hit to your credibility as a thought leader, or as a person that people might even consider doing business with. It's a reputation risk. So a system is just like having a plan. Okay, so here's my plan for LinkedIn. My goal for the next 30 days is to post X number of times, and this is how I'm going to make sure that I do that. And what other frameworks or tools or reminders or whatever can I give myself that's a replicable time after time? So every week on a Monday, maybe you're already writing a blog post. Well, use that blog post to help you create your LinkedIn content, and then drive the readers on LinkedIn back to your blog post. So you're boosting the algorithm, you're building backlinks, you're doing all this stuff that's super valuable, and you haven't had to recreate the content because you're using what's called anchor content.
And go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, so basically, like, you do this, your approach is very similar to my approach when it comes to LinkedIn. And it's all about positioning yourself as the authority on whatever the topic you feel that you're the authority on. Talking to your authority, try not to talk out your ass, I guess, when you're doing it. But just make sure you're genuine, you're straight, and you're honest, and you're delivering the message that you would deliver if you got in front of somebody and got to talk to them.
Absolutely. That's the biggest takeaway for any social media. And I know LinkedIn doesn't want to get thrown in that basket, but they are. Doesn't matter whether they like it or not. It's just a different form of social media. So, the big takeaway is, for LinkedIn especially, just focus on one thing that you want your ideal client to walk away with as a result of reading that post. Yes, of course, you can do newsletters on LinkedIn, and there are times and reasons to do a longer post, but people are busy. A lot of times they're looking at LinkedIn on their phone. You have the same 5 to 7 seconds or less on LinkedIn as you do anywhere else. So keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that as I was listening to you there, how would you, I guess, approach a business owner who feels like they don't need to have a presence online, right? Because you said it's about awareness, because they feel like they're just going to get referrals, or maybe they are getting some referrals now. And so they're like, I don't want to post. I don't need to do any of that. It's all, all my stuff's offline. how would you approach a conversation to advise them to start doing something on LinkedIn?
Well, the reality is, you should never put all your eggs into one basket. There's an old idiom for you. In other words, you can't fully rely on referrals forever, because the referrals could dry up for reasons beyond your control. Okay.
Right.
And not only that, but even developing and maintaining a healthy referral ecosystem requires consistent effort. Okay, your client base can't just feel like, well, the only time I hear from Dave is when he's got something for sale.
Right.
When he wants to buy, we need to buy some new thing. Right? They
Right.
have to feel like you actually care about them, and care about, they're achieving their outcome and goals by using your services or your product. And how do we do that? We don't just show up like with a mass mail generated postcard on their birthday,
Right.
or a mass mail generated Christmas greeting.
And it's all it goes back to, as you said, it just showing that you have the knowledge, right? But that you also then are there and available, and you know what you're doing, and you're getting people to see who you are. And that, as we said just a little bit ago, that's what ultimately makes people decide to do business with you, is who you are. They trust you by that aspect, not necessarily because you gave them some strategy or some tip that they didn't know about before. So
the genuine connection, right?
Exactly. Dwarren, if you and I didn't have a genuine connection from years ago, we would not be sitting here on this podcast right now. You know what
100%.
I mean? So,
how many people do you scroll past on a daily basis in LinkedIn and not feel the need to interact? Right. And then you have a genuine connection with individuals, and you'll actually pause, have a quick read, like, and maybe even repost it.
Absolutely.
Or maybe even comment on it.
And usually your eyes are caught by that very first line, that headline. So you got to make sure that hits. And there's different ways to go about doing that. And you have to remember.
That's a good point. In terms, so how would you then, you mentioned AI. AI is a big one right now. So how would you kind of blend AI into that to help with that kind of that hook line that, and how do you help your clients in that aspect?
Well, in one client case study that I have available that people are welcome to come read about on LinkedIn, is a scenario where it was a national science research center. And because it's associated with a university, they are staffed, all the actual work is done by student interns. Wonderfully capable, wonderful people. But they're taking very wordy, very dense, very heavy content and then trying to create LinkedIn content that leads them to new research partnerships. And they were growing, right? But it was slow, it was painful, and it didn't represent the value that they offer to the people that they partner with, nor to the greater general public. So they contacted me because they had seen my content on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn decided I was a top voice. Thank you very much, LinkedIn. And they reached out to me, and after making sure they were actually legitimate and not some random scammer, we began a working relationship where originally they wanted me to teach the process, the procedure, very much that, quote unquote, old school, like training, right? So I showed up, we did a training, I provided them with all sorts of digital materials about how to write a hook and examples of hooks and different hook frameworks, and then how to connect it with a post and different post frameworks, and the use of white space, and how to use very technical vocabulary, but in a way that people still understand the larger point of what you're saying. That's where my superpower comes in, by the way. And as we're going through all this, I was already using custom GPTs for myself. I have so many now, it's not even funny, all different purposes for them. And I just randomly had a thought, their other problem before I get to the solution was, because they're student interns, there's turnover every semester or every year because those kids graduate and then they're replaced by somebody new. So it just occurred to me, let's solve both the big pain points. The pain points are turning very complex, vocabulary rich content that is only applicable to a small segment of LinkedIn, but let's at least make it readable, right, to legible to the average person. And number two is the turnover. Let's make them a custom GPT, right? And so part of that is feeding. This is prompt. This is high level stuff, Dave. You pushed me here. It's basically creating your own custom GPT, and you have to feed it the details about you, your business, your preferences, how you want it to sound, and then you feed it information about headlines need to be within this character count and should be a hook, and then you have to tell the AI what a hook is and give it some examples. So that's what I did, and it delivered so well. They're blown away, and we're working on renewing that contract right now because they could see the before and the after was so stark in 2 months. Like, it was crazy.
And so for a lot of smaller business owners or entry-level business owners who are maybe thinking about going out and getting into business the first time, how would you advise them in 2 or 3 steps on creating their custom GPT for LinkedIn awareness? What are some things that they should be putting into the custom GPT so that it's going to give them, the posts or the hooks that are really going to kind of be impactful and help with their awareness?
2 answers to that question. 1, connect with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. Somebody like me, doesn't have to be me. There's other people out there that can help you with this. The other answer is ask the GPT. Ask, if it's ChatGPT we're talking about, ask ChatGPT. It will tell you how to create a custom.
Right. Well, I've even done that before too. Like, you can ask ChatGPT to improve your prompt, right,
yes,
for the specific outcome that you're looking for. I got that one from Dwarn.
Yeah, it really comes down to how you're asking the question and how you're guiding it. I make this analogy. All the AI tools are kind of like a genius level 3-year-old. Okay, it has lots of knowledge, but it needs guardrails. It needs guidance. It needs to be told exactly what you want and how you want it. Otherwise, you're probably not going to be happy with the outcome.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. I use the term, it's an eager intern. It's ready. It's ready to jump in and do everything you want it to do.
Right.
But you're probably not going to be happy unless you give it the right direction.
And the other thing is all these AI tools, and I use a lot of them, they will tell you that they can do a particular task, but they can't actually do it. Like, you can say, well, send it to me in email, and it will agree, but it can't actually email you anything.
I don't. Have you ever seen? I've seen the one too where it's like I've asked it to do I guess a bigger task than it probably is meant to do, and it says, "Oh, I'll get that over to you shortly," and then
it
it's
never
not
happens.
And never does anything. And I'm like, well, where is it? And then it's like, oh, sorry, that's too big. I'll work on it. And it's like, and that's that. What's the word they use for that? That's it, like
hallucinations.
The hallucinations, right? Is it just like it
Well,
feels
the
like
thing
that's
is, I love how Dwarn called it an overeager intern, because it's that, and it will agree with anything you say. People, be smart. Yes. It is exactly. I love that analogy, Dwarn, of an overeager intern. It's like yes, and then go away, and it can't do any of it.
like a yes man, right? Like a yes. Yeah. So, and you don't want to have yes people around you. Like even in life, like even if it's AI or regular people, you don't want somebody who's always going to tell you, yes, that's right. Yes, you're doing the right thing. Yes, you're doing the. You want to have Dwarn and I, we'll go back and forth. Right, he'll say one thing, and I'll kind of be the devil's advocate, right? Because we're trying to make sure we're and he'll do sometimes. Exactly.
And you can put those guardrails in the back end of your custom GPT too. You can tell it, be brutally honest. Don't tell me. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me the truth.
Well, give it context, right? I mean,
Yep.
we've got a nonprofit here in the Philippines, which is all educational based, and we've just finished all the video recordings for our practical prompting AI course, which we've got 10 practical prompts to work from, and it's just teaching people how to make their own prompt based on our frameworks, which work across all platforms. And the eager intern is the phrase that we've used and coined throughout our entire course for this. And at the very end, we have 9 main frameworks. Then we go into a custom GPT for repeatable solutions. And then we turn around and drop the real nugget. And the real nugget is you can mix and match all of the frameworks as the 11th framework. Now, people get a little bit shocked when they hear that, because they think that the majority of what they're doing is just ask a question, get an answer. But when you start putting context, and my personal favorite framework is the brutal judge. We have the brutal judge. We tell it like, you are the biologist professor at the top university in the US. You are an expert in your field, and you are going to analyze my report and then tell me everything that's wrong with it, but then tell me how I can fix it.
Yep.
And once you do that, you watch people, their jaws drop, right? And you would see this all the time with people when you talk to them. Wow, it can do that? Of course it can. It's all about how you communicate. And being an English teacher, you're familiar with communication, which is probably a huge advantage.
Yeah.
There you go, see? So I love that. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is definitely, the guardrails are important. Custom GPTs are really, really helpful. And, I've been building a lot of custom GPTs by introducing frameworks. So I create a framework using ChatGPT, export the framework as a PDF, upload that as my instruction guide for my custom GPT, and say, go and use this. And then when I have to do it again for a similar task, clone, change my instruction set, refer back to the original framework. So it's a repeatable solution.
Well, even if you just stay at that level with a bunch of different chat GPT, custom ones, work out the workflow, like which one are you going to use at which point in your day or in your work process, because draw it out, right? Make yourself a wireframe. It doesn't have to be fancy, just so you know what your process and your procedure is. So like, for example, if your first step is to write a new blog article, well, of course AI can help you with that. Right? So that might be your first go-to, your custom bot that's going to help you write your blog article. Of course, that you're going to still review with your own eyes. Please don't ever just copy and paste, my friends. And then what's the next step? What's your next GPT? Taking that blog post and chunking it out into readable, highly engaging posts for LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you're posting, right? It can help you do that too.
I love that. Yeah, you're right.
And I think too, like
your own tools for your own processes.
For sure. And I think also, like, what people should realize is that you don't necessarily have to have a custom GPT for any of this either. You could actually create it in your personalization of your GPT. And then every chat you have, whether it's in a custom GPT or just a regular chat, has that same sort of mentality and instructions to it.
Absolutely. Because I know everyone in this room, we are all talking about ChatGPT because it's just probably our preference at this point for the majority of the content we're talking about for today.
Right.
But I used to top out my $20 plan all the time. Haven't done it for a long time now, but I still generate and work a lot inside of the ChatGPT platform every day. But like Isaac's saying in the chat here, human component, the amount of times that there's a lack of human component. One of my favorite things to do is just respond back saying, it's not natural. No one would talk like that. Try again.
Well, and if they want to test that theory out, Doran, if they haven't played around with a before and after
is my
experience.
internet dropping, or is it someone else's? Everybody reset there.
We can still hear you, Doran. Don't worry. It was you, not us.
a great experiment to run to yourself.
For those guys who don't know, we've got a massive super typhoon bearing down on the top of the country here in the Philippines. So it's due to hit landmass over the next day or two. So there could be some issues related to that with our telephone network and data network. So I think we might be experiencing some of that.
Gotcha.
But it's dry where I am at the minute. So it's okay.
I was just going to say that a great way to experience the difference yourself is to open your favorite AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of them. There's so many, I can't even keep up anymore. And just ask it to write you a blog post, and you can even tell it word count on whatever topic, your favorite, the topic that you talk about, and then look at the output and then do the same prompt, but in a ChatGPT that has gotten those custom instructions from you, and see how the output is so tremendously different. The first time it's going to sound very robotic, very non-human, I guess, and use words or frame or sentence structure that you would never use. And then the second one, it's going to sound more, the more context you give it, like Dave said, the more it knows your voice. And I can teach you how to do all that stuff, obviously. But the more you feed it, the more it's going to sound like how you actually write, how you actually talk. And the output is going to be so starkly different.
Yeah. Right. You're personalizing the tool to work for you, right? And that's where working with someone like yourself, Eileen, is great, because it helps people who otherwise just treat it as a tool that don't know any different. It's just they don't have any customization, no personalization. They're not aware of the functionality. I mean, how many times have you been on a call, shared a screen, said, hey, let me try to show you something. It's that thing you're wanting to do. Type in the instructions the way you would say it, and then produce the outcome. And they go, oh, it didn't say that for me. But then again, I never asked the question that way. And it's like, it's just about how I know how to communicate.
Even with ChatGPT, you yourself can put the same prompt in 3 different versions, and you're going to get 3 different answers.
3 different answers.
It's not going to be the same every time. And so that's, if it's not what you like, either you can, go in that same chat and ask it to try again, or take the prompt and drop it into another, new chat, right? Or even in your new customization. And it's going to give you something different, because there's just so many versions and variables that it pulls in each time that it creates a new answer.
Well, and coming back to the necessity to maintain human eyes on everything that's coming out from any AI agent, I have in my custom instructions never fictionalize client results, never fictionalize outcomes, never fictionalize my actual experience. And it still will occasionally try to create stuff that's not true. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. Now it knows enough that when I say, what did I say about integrity? Oh, I apologize.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like that. It's like the intern. You hold them accountable, and they're like, oh, sorry, I don't want to mess up. And then they apologize profusely. Yeah.
It's the eager intern.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great, right? And so curiously, when you're creating your content or suggesting for clients to create content, if you're creating content for LinkedIn, would you suggest using the same content or adjust it for other social media platforms?
It depends on what your personal content strategy is. I mean, are you only posting on LinkedIn, or are you trying to cover multiple platforms? I would advise, if you're going to do multiple platforms, that you do run it through those different filters. I'm going to use that word, so that, like, for LinkedIn, it's going to look one way versus I don't know, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because there is a slight difference in how things sound and feel. LinkedIn is still a little bit more quote unquote professional leaning, okay, versus some of the other social platforms. And different audiences respond a little bit differently depending on the platform they choose to consume content on, right? So especially when you start talking about video and just talking about YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and even videos on Instagram, right? There's definitely a whole little different lens that you need to apply for those. I mean, you're still drawing it all again back to the anchor content. So again, with the whole workflow, start with that, and then how many different branches off from that content are you needing to add on to that framework?
Yeah, great. I agree.
And in between, the anchor content and that output is more AI prompts. Like one is going to be, now use that original for LinkedIn. Now use that original for YouTube Shorts. Now use that original for wherever else you want to show up.
And for a business owner, that might feel overwhelmed, right? What is one thing that you would do to get started with somebody just to kind of kick off their LinkedIn improvement?
Well, if we're talking about LinkedIn, my first question would be a gentle alignment question along the lines of, who is your ideal client avatar? And are they actually on LinkedIn? Is LinkedIn the best place for you to look for those new potential clients or customers? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. But that's a necessary question to ask before we invest time or effort into anything, right? Are the people that you're trying to talk to actually on LinkedIn? Now, let's say the answer is yes. Okay. Well, then the next step is, to just start with once a week, right? What is it you're going to talk about? Sketch it out for the next 4 weeks, and remember to try and put yourself in the client customer shoes. Stop talking about how your tool solves every problem known to mankind. People aren't interested in your features. They want to know the outcome that you deliver, right? So start talking outcome based, right? Or give tips or tools, strategies that you learned when you were starting that apply to your client avatar, right? So, and being consistent. So pick a theme. Okay, you could even go along with the months of the year if that helps you. Like this month is all about gratitude and gratefulness because it's connected with, U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. Obviously, December is all about, holiday time, whatever holidays you and your community observe. The end of the year reflections. That's always a great topic. And takeaways that you can offer your readers, your listeners. I mean, I share stories from the classroom frequently because I have so many.
Well, you did mention too, like what you have to think about is, again, people make a decision off of emotion, not necessarily logic. And so if you're always pitching like your benefit, right, or the pieces of your system that work, that's not gonna resonate with people. And I say this to a lot of times when people set up their profile to kind of go along with today's section, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook, or even Alignable, right, which is where all of us actually met. You want the prospect, when they land on your profile, to see themselves in your description of your ideal client. So talk pain points, talk obstacles, talk stressors, because that's when they read it and they say, oh, you help people who are stressed about cash flow, or you help people who are stressed about getting awareness on LinkedIn, or who are frustrated because they aren't getting the followers that they want or having great conversations on a platform. Like, they want to read that, and you're like, man, that's my exact situation. Like, I need to reach out to Eileen because she resonates with me.
Well, and
you have to understand it.
No, and I was going to say, you have to even flip it a little bit further in my case as far as visibility on LinkedIn, because that doesn't necessarily translate for my client avatar. So instead, I have to flip it and position it like, are you getting the outreach and the connections that you'd like to get on LinkedIn? That's really the trigger point, because every business owner on the planet wants to see an ROI on their time investment on any social media platform.
Right.
And it's hard to, like, for me, I always look at social media as a great awareness option, and it's very hard to measure awareness. You know, until you talk to somebody. And like, I've had clients where I sit down and I talk to them and they say, you know, I went to this conference and everyone knew who I was. They're all commenting about my LinkedIn profile and all these things I'm posting about. And I'd be like, oh, that's great. He goes, oh, it's amazing. Everyone thinks I'm like the authority on everything. And like, how's that feel? He goes, it's great. I'm getting business. So sometimes you get the win. Sometimes you get that association. But for a lot of us, it's just you keep posting it, and then you'll get a couple of diehards who'll sit there and like everything you post and maybe repost it for you. But occasionally you'll get one or two comments just randomly pop up from someone you know reads your posts, but one post resonated with them. And then suddenly you've got that connection. And I think that's the magic. When you can make that happen, that's the magic.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But all of it is a long game, though. It's not, you're not going to see, it's not like post for a month and all the gates of heaven are going to pour out a blessing upon you.
What's this episode, Dave? Like 35 now we've done. So 35 episodes of this podcast. I mean, it's every week showing up and doing the same thing, right? It's not going to just magically take off. You know, we're not driving around in sports cars because of a YouTube channel. It's just not how it works.
Yeah, right. I mean, ultimately, you know, the idea is that you do the content to reinforce, right, what you do and how you do it, and build up that, what we've talked about, that relationship, that connection with your audience and your connections. And you can do that through once a week. You can do that through daily. And, you know, you can do it through any means that you feel, right, resonates with yourself and who you are. Right. And I think the one thing that I would like people to listen on this is that you don't want to do something that you don't, right, align with, right, that you don't feel is who you are. Right. So sometimes maybe it's networking in person and having a phone call with somebody is better, and doing outreach that way. Ultimately, you know, you can take as Eileen and Dwarren have mentioned, you can take your longer form, if that's something that you like to do, you like to write, you know, take that and turn it into smaller pieces. And now you're not doing anything that's inauthentic because you love to write. You just may not understand how to take it and put it into shorter pieces that then reference back to your longer form content. And that's, I think, Eileen, what I'm hearing is that, you know, there's ways for you to increase your awareness without doing anything completely different than what you're comfortable with.
Well, and a lot of time it starts with taking stock of the content you've already created. Most business professionals, business owners already have stuff on their hard drives and their Google Drive. And it can all be, you know, unless it's so out of date, it's lost relevance. It can be reinvigorated and reused to not feel like it's a grind. I see that comment from Isaac. It's not about the grind. If you've never posted on LinkedIn, I just start with once a week. Start with something that you know, that you're passionate about, that you know is a pain point or a problem for your ideal person, and start talking about little things that they can do to start moving that specific needle for themselves.
And if writing isn't your strong suit, then maybe talking or video is, right? And you know, once a week, record a 60-second, you know, kind of tip or, you know, strategy that you help your clients with to overcome whatever, or a pain point that you've seen, that you've had conversations with about. Like, provide that insight, and that's just as good as sometimes video performs a lot better than just the text, right?
Yeah, well, and here's another idea, and if showing up on camera scares the bejesus out of you, open your favorite AI tool and voice speak to it. It will type whatever you say into the chat, to the box, and then you say, help me write this in a way that's appropriate for whatever platform. We're going to stick with LinkedIn. Help me write this for LinkedIn. And you're still going to have to tweak it a bit and, you know, refine it and make it sound like something that you would actually say. But it's a starting place, right? So,
and even then, you have some AI platforms, right, that you could create essentially a clone of yourself and your voice.
yes.
And you could let it know, hey, this is, this isn't me, right? This is like my words, but it's not me, right, on the video. And it could look like you, it can sound like you, and it's your
AI
script.
twins are big.
Yep. And
Yep.
they're getting so much better now. Sometimes you don't even know, which is scary and that's another topic for another show. Because people that, obviously there's bad people in the world, and they'll use those for bad purposes, but we'll talk about that later. But Eileen, I know you have like a resource, or kind of like if anybody's listening, or you have questions on how to improve your LinkedIn presence. Eileen, you talk a little bit about that, kind of entry level programming or offer that you help people with.
Yeah, I have what I call a LinkedIn quick win, where you and I meet for 15 or 20 minutes, and I take a high level view of what's currently on your LinkedIn profile, and I give you 2 to 3 tips that you can implement right away that are going to help you start moving the needle. And of course, if you want an even deeper dive on your LinkedIn, I also offer that as an option. The bottom line is, even if you're only doing, like what you said, Dave, in person, people are still going to check out who you are online, whether that's your website, whether it's LinkedIn, because we're cautious. We should be cautious people, right? I want to make sure that you're actually who you say you are, the talk matches the walk.
Yeah,
very true.
For sure.
It's building that trustworthiness that we want. And when you can't look someone in the eye, this is one way that people do it. They'll go and they'll research you, your business, a little bit about you. And that's another factor I think people need to consider is, if you're a business and you have employees, your employees have to show up the same way. Because if they're on LinkedIn with a profile that's associated with your business, then you want to make sure that your employees are doing the same messaging you're doing, and maybe not the same consistent posting, but at least showing up and being at that same level of trustworthiness as you and everyone else in your business who is doing those tips and tricks that you're sharing and the frameworks that you're sharing with people.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so, one last thing, before we kind of wrap up, Eileen, what is the number one, I guess, tip that you want a business owner to take away from today to just start improving their awareness in their LinkedIn?
I don't know what's more scary, but they both definitely need to be thought about. I see way too many, wonderfully experienced, passionate business people just leave that blank banner or a generic image in the banner space on LinkedIn. People, please think of that as like your personal billboard, and you haven't had to spend a penny to have it. That's, as soon as people click your name, that's what they see. Is it reflecting anything about why they should want to talk to you? And if you're using either, a blank banner or a generic beautiful picture, the answer is, I'm sorry to tell you, no.
Yeah, you're missing out.
And then the next step is that headline right beneath your name. Again, is it speaking directly to the person that you're trying to help? Most of the time, many times, the answer, again, is sadly no. And those are, it can be a little intimidating. Well, what do I want my banner to look like? Or what do I want my headline to say? There's frameworks and steps that you can go through to help you identify that. But it is definitely, a big, very important, I would say crucial step to take, and one that I address pretty much every time I have this LinkedIn visibility conversation, because those are the things that people see first.
Right. Yeah, and you're going to see the headline before anybody even clicks on your name. So if they're doing a search, they're going to see that headline before they even go to your profile. So It's your number one sort of marketing piece, especially the first, I would say, like 10 or less words. You want it, again, as we talked about, like your ideal client, you wanted that to resonate. You want them to see themselves in that first 5 to 10 words of your headline, to want to click and read more about who you are and what you do. So
Absolutely.
And Eileen, we'd like to kind of have a quick conversation. Is there any currently right now in your business that you're facing maybe an obstacle that maybe somebody who's listening is facing the same thing, and we could share some guidance and some insights that not only you'll learn from, but anybody listening?
Well, I'm just always looking to expand my own business networking circle, and looking for introductions to small business owners who are either not reaching those ideal clients on LinkedIn, or who are quietly losing time and money due to repetitive manual tasks that take time away from actually delivering the service or product that they went into business to represent. Let's put it that way. I love coaching and teaching and helping others understand AI. So I do an executive AI literacy workshop, if you want to call it that. So lots of just different opportunities for people to connect with me and share my vision and my values with people that they think it would resonate with.
So with that, what would you say is an obstacle that you're facing around that then?
I think just opening the door to more introductions, really. And I mean, I'm online, doing online networking, in-person networking. I'm on LinkedIn, very present there. So it's just sometimes meeting the right person that can say, wow, you really need to meet Eileen to somebody else.
Well, here's one tip that I'll give. That I talk to a lot of people around networking as well. Is we talked a lot about your ideal client and why you should have that in your profile and understand where they are. But the next level to that is truly start thinking not just who your ideal client is and try to meet them, but start thinking who does business with your ideal client, and start meeting that level of the networking circle. Because then what happens is, instead of you, Eileen, trying to build a cold relationship with your ideal client through LinkedIn or an open networking session, when you build that strong relationship with somebody who's already doing business with your ideal client, now when they say, oh, John, I need you to talk with Eileen. Eileen's great at helping with LinkedIn awareness, or even implementing AI automation, or whatever it is that you've built that relationship so they have an understanding of what you do. Now that's a warm, trusted referral to your target prospect, which requires way less, almost 50 to 60% less touch points to close that potential client on a new program than if you were to try to build a cold relationship with your ideal client. And
absolutely,
I hear this all the time. So I lead a local, alliance group for Alignable. And every time we go around the room in the in-person, and I ask people, to talk about who they are, right, what they do, and who they want to meet, 95% of the people talk about they only want to meet their ideal client, who they're working. Nobody thinks at that next level of, well, I want to work with business owners. Okay, well, I want to talk with insurance brokers and payroll, advisors, and HR, consultants, or fractional CFOs, or the insurance. I think I might have already said insurance broker, but accountants, bookkeepers, right?
Right.
And so if you think of that next level, that opens up that whole other realm to you, that you're now exponentially meeting and having more opportunities to potentially meet your ideal client. And so if that's something you're not doing, that would be an advice piece that I would give to you, as well as if you're listening and you maybe see yourself where, oh, wait, I am only trying to reach my target prospects. Now you can start, thinking at that next level for networking and outreach.
Awesome.
Well, with that, so Dwar, what about you? I know Eileen, she's mentioned the banner for her profile as the one thing she wants somebody to walk away with. Dwar, how about you? What's something from today's conversation that you hope sticks and resonates with our viewers today?
Yeah, I think the conversation for me just reminds me that you're probably going to feel really uncomfortable when you get started with LinkedIn marketing. And that's what it is, right? It's building your awareness. It's self-marketing, marketing yourself, right? Getting yourself out there. If it doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're not doing it right, because it is going to feel uncomfortable initially. You know, because most of us don't like talking about each other. We don't like giving ourselves props and little pats on the back. But make sure whatever you're doing, I mean, just take advantage of conversations and advice from people like Dave, myself, and Eileen. And don't be afraid to remember that you are probably a very good expert in the area and the field that you are. And the things that you take for granted that you know, other people probably don't know.
Yep.
If you're a tax expert, you're going to know things about tax that you just know because it's just normal for you, but it's like really big news for somebody else. So when you share that, that's huge props. That's that's like big thumbs up from people. They love that sort of stuff. So yeah,
Well,
you are going to feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
But that's normal. And that's why you have people like Eileen to sit there and go, no, that's normal. Keep going.
Well, I mean, it's the reality when we try anything new, right? You feel uncertain. You're as adults, we have a fear of failure, a fear of making ourselves look, I don't know, ridiculous. But when I started my LinkedIn journey, I decided to just do it, and do it even when it's messy, and do it even when I'm scared, because consistency, building up that muscle, showing up, it takes effort. It takes repeated action, and you're going to get better over time. And as soon as you start sending those signals out, you're going to start building out that network and that awareness.
And as
Absolutely.
Isaac here says, he agrees with you there, Dwarren. We're definitely the worst at telling people what we do. So to kind of, for me, if you're listening, you made this far, one, great. Thank you. We appreciate you kind of being here. But my takeaways for today's episode is, one, I want to piggyback on what Dwarren was just saying, is as you're getting started, realize that you don't have to limit what you're saying in terms of topics. Like when you make a post, let's say today you make a post about topic A. Well, it's only probably going to get seen by 5 to 6% of your network, right? Because of the algorithm. So you can essentially post about that same topic, every other day or every 2 or 3 days, in a different way, because the vast majority of your network is not going to see that. Just the way the algorithm works, until you start getting viral, and that now there's a lot more. So think, how can I, as Eileen mentioned at the beginning of the episode, create a system where maybe every 2 or 3 days I'm kind of talking about a similar sort of overarching topic around my services or my support. And, every 2, 3, 4 days, you're changing it, but changing the wording, but it's the same topic, same support, same education, because it's going to take, if only 5 or 6 people or 5 to 6% of your network sees it, it takes 20 posts for your whole, network to actually see that topic from you. And so now this starts to, really, now you can start to see the volume at which you have to post in order for people to really pick it up and see it. And then now then it's the resonation factor and, all of that afterwards. But just start posting, but don't think that, I posted about that yesterday, so I shouldn't post about that for another month. No, like you could post about it every week. You could post about it every 4 or 5 days. So that's the first thing. And the second thing would be, the consistency piece. Like doing it doesn't have to be every day, but doing it on a regular cadence. That's the important part for you. So if you struggle with consistency, making sure, and we said this on previous episodes, Dwarren and I, put it in your calendar. Like every Monday at 8 to 8:30, create a time that you're going to create your post and put it out. And that's your weekly post to get started. Then as you start to go to 2 to 3 times a week, now you can build out an extra 2 or 3 windows, or expand your Monday window and just schedule them for the week, or maybe it's Sunday evening, whatever works right for you. But if you don't put it in your calendar, especially when you struggle with it, your calendar begins to manage you instead of you managing your calendar. And that's the biggest thing when it comes. Yeah. Well, we're a little over an hour, which is what we looked at, but it was a great conversation. Eileen, definitely appreciate you being here. As I said, we're going to have you back to get even. I know we started talking into AI today, but there's so much more that we could potentially jump into and kind
it's an unending topic, Dave.
and it's ever evolving, right? So I want to thank you. If you watched it this far, we appreciate you. We hope you got 2 or 3, kind of those good nuggets that you want to share. And if you did, I want to ask a favor for you. If you can make sure that you're, subscribed to our channel and you like and share this with your network, especially if you're connected with a lot of business owners that might get the same value that you did, please, we ask that we would definitely appreciate that to improve the awareness. We're at Triumph Business Solutions, for myself and Warren, especially with this podcast, we want to have an impact on 1,000 business owners by the end of 2028. So this is one of the ways that we're trying to do that. So we appreciate you being here. And again, if you have any questions or insights after the episode, drop them down below. We'll make sure that Eileen gets that, and we can get those answered for you in either offline or on our next episode. So for myself and Warren, Eileen, thank you so much. We hope everybody has a wonderful end to your week, and as always, we'll see everybody in the next one. See y'all.
And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. See you there.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See you.